actually for every single league and can deal and adapt with every single league. So also with the overhead kicks, like your Gareth Bale, your Rooney, you put another player in them situation, how many of them players would have tried what they tried in that situation? Yet if they've had maybe at a youth system the chance or the ability to try that on sand and be comfortable because they know they're not going to hurt themselves, when that situation occurs, they will try an overhead kick, and you never know what happens. For example, a spectacular goal might go in, and you know that when you see them goals go viral, and they happen 4 or 5 times on a beach soccer pitch.
I mean, yeah, I looked at some of your goals, and some of them are unbelievable. And as you say, that's probably happening on a regular basis in them games. And as you say, in the Premier League, that happens maybe once a season.
Yeah.
So you can see, as you said, what's the intensity like in a game? Is it more than what you'd get in kind of 90 minutes? Because obviously, anyone that's even tried to run on sand, it's hard. Let alone trying to play on sand.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of Premier League footballers, I think a lot of them have actually installed a lot of like sand pitches during pre-season and stuff, don't they, to try and get that. It's hard. It's very hard. So what would you say is more intense, like beach football for your period of time or 90 minutes of running in a football match?
No, I'd definitely say, I'd have to say beach football, first of all, because it's 5-a-side anyway. Obviously football is 90 minutes, but when it's 36 minutes, it's 36 minutes. When the ball goes out, the clock stops. So you are getting 36 minutes on the sand of where it's completely, really, really intense. And it's a bit like, I don't want to say it's so much like basketball in terms of a counter sport, because it is still like football when you play 5-a-side. But it's tough on your legs. And not only that, most countries that you go to, it's hot. So you're having to deal with different sort of like heats. When you go to Nigeria, you've got to deal with it. You might play a night game under floodlights. You might play at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we ain't suited for that in England, for example. And especially sort of like RFA don't support us as much as other countries. But you look at, say, Russia. Russia have got indoor domes. Russia are one of the best teams in the world, but they have indoor domes where they sort of like notch up the heat, and they will train at whatever heat they are going to play in. So that preparation is fantastic in terms of that. So the intensity is very very, very high, and you have to be very fit to be able to deal with it. But it's weird. It's one of the things that like everyone always asks me, your legs must be like knackered after a while. And I guess it's like anything, you just get used to it. I get used to running on sand because I guess in the first sort of like 6 months of when I was doing it, your legs do take a beating, especially after. But now I think you just get used to doing it.
Where's the best country you've gone to play in?
Best country in terms of experience I've seen, or in terms of like crowd and what I've played in front of?
Let's do both. Where's the best place being played for the crowd? I suppose it's got to be a place where there's got to be one of their main sort of sports, I suppose, isn't it?
Do you know what I think? I've said this a lot. I think that, and with the Arsenal videos that you put up, for me, the best crowd and sort of like stadium that I go to is Nigeria. Only because, as you can imagine, the fans are absolutely mental.
Is it big over there?
I think they support their country massively. Normally in that tournament that we play over there, they'll have a club tournament and also a international tournament. And the good thing about beach football is that because the sand, it's not like grass. Grass obviously gets chopped up, so you can only have so many games on a pitch. Whereas beach football, you have back-to-back games. So if you come and sit in a stadium, you could watch 6 games in a row, for example, because the games are just played in the same stadium, which I guess brings the crowd together. But Nigeria goes mad for it, and in the heart of Lagos as well, it's unbelievable. So I'd say in terms of that, for experience and how welcoming they are to us and how much they sort of get behind us and love us. And when we went there with Arsenal, it was just incredible, because I think Nigeria have got one of the biggest supporters out of England in terms of for Arsenal. So you can imagine when we went there as representing Arsenal, it was just crazy. It was unbelievable how much support they give us. And then we won the tournament there as well, which was amazing. But in terms of the best country I think I've been to, I'd probably have to say Tahiti. I mean,
why is that? Just for what it was.
It's just paradise in terms of, I've never really experienced it. Don't get me wrong, it took a long time to get there, but it was just a whole different, you get to see a different culture. It's so chilled, but it's that sort of like paradise. Most people, I guess, go there for sort of like honeymoons, and we're there playing on like a beach football tournament. Some of the best beaches you've ever seen, and the experience of, I think the France, I think Perez went as well with the national team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Perez went, and I think it was that team who won the 98. They won the World Cup in 98.
France 98, yeah.
They went, and we had the same host as them, and they took us around, and we like swam with sharks, and like the experience away from just beach football as well. It was unbelievable.
So you're saying that you played for Arsenal, how many other English teams have actually got beach football teams?
So it's weird. Arsenal sort of like dabbled into it, loved it, won a tournament, and then sort of said, we ain't got the media capacity to deal with this, because I think they've only got 4 or 5 people working as full time. So you've got Portsmouth who have got a team. You've got, I think Southampton are now interested into it. So there's a lot of like lower league teams. So you've got like Corinthians, Eastleigh. A lot of people are sort of taking an interest into it, but it's sort of there's talks now with Man City that are trying to get involved with it and think they like it. But it's one of them things, like, if one big team gets involved with it, then all of a sudden other teams follow. Yeah, exactly. But you've got sort of, I guess here it's not that big, but in other countries you've got Barcelona, you've got Levante, you've got Sporting Lisbon, you've got Lokomotiv Moscow. So there's big teams sort of involved in it and support it. It's just not here. So I guess it's not just massive here because of we see football as obviously our main sport, which is fair enough.
So technically in that game, you must have to be kind of spot on in terms of, as we were saying, with your technique, because if you haven't got technique in beach football, you can't be really obviously like relying on pace or anything like that, can you really?
No, technically you've got to be comfortable aerially to receive the ball. You've got to be able to sort of like pass in the air. Don't get me wrong, there are players who can dribble. There's players who can sort of pass on the floor and finish on the floor. But you do have to learn or adapt quickly to deal with it, because it's also a different game of like, if you're a good defender, how do you deal with someone when they're juggling the ball and then on their fire running at you at a quick pace? Because your timing has to be perfect, because if you try to tackle and you're a second wrong, it's a free kick. And the free kicks in beach football are very different. There's no wall. It's a direct shot at goal. So we build a bit like a sand mount, and it is it's a free kick direct. It's only me versus the goalkeeper. And that's obviously not something that you really want to be giving away to an opposition team.
So in terms of your coaching now, so we're going to go on to a bit like your coaching and stuff. I know you was at a very young age when you started. I think when you actually do your level 2, if I remember rightly, obviously you was probably one of the youngest in the country actually to do it at that kind of time as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I was lucky. I knew. Do you know Tom Yolden from the London FA?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was 17 and not meant to be on a level 3 because I was meant to be 18, and he put me on a level 3. So I was very fortunate that I got my level. I passed my UEFA B when I was 18, which I guess opened up doors for me in terms of going to the Arsenal Academy as a young coach. So I was very fortunate and lucky to do that as well. One of the boys, like Charlie Patino's on there as well. He's not a bad player. But yeah, no, I was very, very grateful, very lucky to be sort of 18 and pass my UEFA B, and that allowed me to go into the Arsenal Academy. And from then, I think I was under Greg Lincoln, and Greg's detail and his knowledge from being obviously as a professional footballer into semi-pro into coaching is just fantastic. So I had a great, between him and Taff as well, I learned so much off of them, and I was just in such a good environment and taking everything in, and everyone was so welcoming to me. I think because I was young as well, no one really saw me as a threat, which was nice. So everyone welcomed me because I was sort of like the young kid as a coach, and that allowed me to sort of go into different experiences, and people would say, like, why don't you try this, and why did you do this? You should add this to your coaching. So that was really nice for me as well. And I've had some great experience at Arsenal working with sort of like Steve Bold, Freddie Ljungberg, Thierry Henry, Arteta when he come in and done his badges as well. So I've had really good experiences, so I'm very fortunate and grateful for that as well.
Just them names alone, names you just said there, that's experience yourself, just watching them kind of coach. What else can you ask for when you've got big pros coming in to kind of do that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
How does it feel around them sort of people, watching them do sessions?
Yeah, do you know what? I think when you're in that environment, it's really weird that you have to understand everyone is just a human being. I guess it's weird because
Yeah.
from being in there, and I guess I was thrown in the deep end a little bit after a year. I was being asked because, as we spoke about earlier, years ago it wasn't like, you've got 2-3 coaches. It was, right, you are now the coach and you have to deal with 20 kids. How do you deal with it? So I think after being at Arsenal for a year or two, I was being told to take a team as a head coach, like the under-10s and the under-11s. And then quickly enough, we had David Beckham's boys in, and now you're dealing with a whole different kettle of fish. You've got David Beckham's boys, but the truth is, when you speak to these people and you're their coach, like with Robert Perez, they're so down to earth, they're so humble, they're just like us. And when you're around them, they just become. And in a football environment, everyone is talking football, and I think I'm confident enough to talk football and know it that they, I guess, accept you. And then I think the thing that helped me and has always helped me is in the staff games, because I've always been young and I can always play. Everyone has always given me sort of respect because I can play. So like playing in staff games with Thierry, for example, he was up front, I was left wing, and in the end he told me to go up front. He said, "No, go on, you can run more than me, so you go up front."
That's not a bad situation to be in, is it?
Yeah, but it's weird because after that, you naturally build up a rapport with him because you played in a football match with him. So yeah, dealing with sort of like them ex-professionals or sort of like the high class celebrities, they're just like us, and they're so down to earth and so humble as well, and you can learn so much off of them, and they love sort of. Thierry Henry would talk for hours about football, and it's amazing because you get all of that experience and you take in so much from him as well.
How do you balance between England and Arsenal at the moment? Because obviously you're away for quite a lot. How does that sort of affect your coaching sort of stuff?
It was really hard in terms of like trying to balance because I'm away, but Arsenal are fantastic with it, and the people there at Arsenal I think really enjoy me representing England in a different sport in terms of beach football, but still connected to football. And I actually think it's quite nice in terms of, because I am part-time and I'm now more of an assistant instead of a head coach role, that all of the kids have got a little bit of a role model from a different point of view, because they actually see me as a bit of a player, yet at the same time as a coach. So I think at Arsenal, they're sort of using that side of it and that gives me the leeway to go and represent my country, go and play abroad, yet still come back and coach for Arsenal as well.
Yeah, because I always found, juggling between you going away and coming back and stuff is always going to be sort of hard. What do you prefer to do? Do you prefer coaching or do you prefer playing?
I think because I'm still young and with beach football, I definitely prefer the beach football side of it, so the playing side of it, because I would hate to get to a point where I just focus on the coaching side and when you look back and think, why didn't I just give it that extra push, because I can always go into coaching. And I think right now I'm just sort of thriving in the beach football sort of side of it, so I just want to try and focus on that with still sort of coaching and still picking up things, but I wouldn't go into full-time coaching yet.
So in terms of the academy, we get a lot of kids that are being picked up at such a young age now. Some of them are playing at 6, 7 and 8, straight in at academies now. Do you have an opinion on how the kind of academy system works in this country now? If they, for me, I've said a couple of times now, I think that kids that young should be playing a bit more grassroots, playing with their friends, doing that sort of stuff. My philosophy is a bit changed just a little bit in terms of, I think they should be playing a lot more grassroots until they're maybe in secondary school. Do you have an opinion on kind of the young ones playing at the moment or anything like that?
Yeah, I think, look, we touched on it earlier as well. Years ago when we was younger, the level of coaching that you would get from an academy was second to none. But now you do have top coaches who are running sort of football academies as well. And also the experiences that these kids are getting, of course, like in an academy, you'll get great experience in terms of going abroad and playing different teams. But the one thing I would say is that for a grassroots is the younger kids, what I've noticed with academies now is we don't play on, especially younger kids, sort of, you're talking foundation phase, they don't play on grass a lot. Now, you play at Regent's Park and it's always on grass. The kids get used to grass. Now, football is on grass. The ball moves different to sort of astro and grass. And I would say sort of the academy boys lose that feel of grass because they haven't played on it for so long, because they're training on Astro, playing on Astro. And when they come to grass, if it's like a big tournament, they don't know how to adapt to it. And I've seen boys come in at sort of under 14, under 15 who haven't been anywhere near an academy and sign for Arsenal. So again, I don't agree on that you have to be in the system from a young age. And I've spoke to parents who said, actually, I don't want him to be in the system until maybe 12, 13. And I would definitely say and encourage most kids to play grassroots and enjoy it with their friends, but also get different experiences, because it is a pressurized environment when you do come into academy, and it is full on. But I think it's really important to have that balance of making sure that you play with your friends and a grassroots and getting that experience, as well as not just playing in an academy throughout your whole life.
Yeah, because I mean, that's one of my things is that, you know, you can be picked up at an academy at the age of 7, go on to you know, let's say picked up at Arsenal at 7, go on to 18 and just be dropped to the tip of a hat, and then you're kind of in limbo. You don't really know, you know, where to go and stuff like that. And that's always been my sort of thing. We've known quite a few people that have been in that sort of situation, never got to play with their friends, never got to enjoy football as much, because I suppose you're more robotic, and you sort of thing. So that's why I kind of see it a bit differently nowadays as well. But yeah, I think that's spot on what you kind of just said.
And I also think, like, not just playing for your local team as well, but representing your borough, representing your county, like your district level, and then going up to London as you get a bit older. I think the experiences like that I got as a kid playing for sort of like Camden, then Camden Islip, and then London, you don't get them experiences anywhere else as well. And it's so important to get, not just from a football point of view, but from a life point of view as well. You learn so much from them different experiences.
So let's say in 10 years' time, where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself still maybe playing beach football, or do you see yourself doing a bit more coaching in about 10 years' time?
I think in 10 years' time, I'm going to be, I'm going to be 39. So I'm not sure. Look, the sport of beach football, when I first got involved in it, like you said, with Cantona and stuff like that.
He was old, weren't he?
The sport was then asking for sort of ex-professionals. I know Matt Letitia got involved in the England team, and you could play professional, you could retire and then go into beach football. It's a little bit more like that, whereas now it's become so much more professional. Everyone's sort of an athlete. You've got to be at a very, very high level, and I only see it getting more professional, especially in other countries. So I'd like to say I'm still going to keep myself in good shape, but I think in 10 years' time, I'm definitely going to rather be transitioning now. Whether I go into coaching or managing from a sort of beach soccer point of view, or whether I go into a coaching role in terms of a football side of it, I don't know. I've always said I don't really like managing. I've always said I never want to be a manager. I think I'd prefer, if I went into football, I'm talking about, I'd rather be a first team coach, because I think my passion is much more in terms of coaching. Managing is such a different game. People don't understand how different it is dealing with sort of like players' moods and managing every single player. For me, not yet. That's not my expertise. I think from coaching, I'm much more confident in that side of it. So I definitely think I will go into professional coaching at a time in my life, definitely in the next 10 years. I just don't know whether that will be in beach football or whether it will be in sort of the 11-a-side football route.
So last two questions. Just first one, what are the Arsenal kids doing at the moment? Have you got them doing much?
Yeah, I think it's difficult. It's so difficult because of the situation we're in. We're not allowed, obviously, to go near anyone and stuff like that. So probably what every other kid is doing in their garden in terms of like ball manipulation, I think that's really important right now. Just making sure you've got that connection with the ball. So that's what we're sort of setting our kids to do, to make sure they're technically still able when they come back to training to play at that intensity and still manage and master the ball how we want them to.
And then what sort of information or what sort of advice would you give to any sort of young kids up and coming? Maybe some of them might want to get into beach football, I don't know, or what sort of advice would you give to kind of anyone that wants to become a pro? Because obviously you're working at Arsenal. What sort of information or advice would you give to any sort of young players that are watching this now and want to become that sort of into that sort of industry?
I think mine would be, especially from my experiences, I'd speak more about sort of mindset and mentality. And I really wish my mindset and my mentality was the same as it is now, as it was when I was younger, in terms of, not being scared to foul, not being scared to step on a pitch. There was times that, you know, when I played for Kentish Town, even at semi-pro level, in the first half, I'd do something good. I might even score a goal. And then in my mind, something would trigger and say, you know, actually, I've done enough. I've done enough now. If I come off, even if I've got an injury or something, or a little knock, I can say to the manager, you know, let me come off more. And actually, everyone will remember, oh, I wish Aaron could stay on the pitch for a little bit longer, but he's done really well. Mine would be sort of, don't be scared to foul. If you make mistakes, keep working hard. Make sure you step up, and whatever it is, if you've missed a penalty, make sure you get that ball when you take another penalty. Don't be scared. Continue to believe in yourself. Continue to work hard. And the need to succeed should always be bigger than the fear of failure. And I think I've learned that lesson a little bit older in life. But if I could pass that on to every kid, that don't be scared to foul, and make sure that you want to succeed in whatever you do, not just in football, but in life. I think that would be one of the lessons I would pass on to all the kids.
Yeah, love that. That's great. I think that's a fantastic way to finish. Thank you very much for your time, Al. Really enjoyed this, and good luck. I hope you get back onto a beach somewhere at some point.
Thank you. Thank you. No, thanks for having me, Looney.
Nice one, mate. And I'll catch you up soon, mate.
See you later.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Bye, Looney. Bye, mate. Bye.